All right, now to the handout. Two angles are complementary if their measures sum to 90 degrees. Okay? And this is the geometry I'm teaching that allows you to then write up an equation. One angle is called the complement of the other. Now we have to determine whether or not these pairs of angles fit that definition. Do they sum to 90? Yes. Do they sum to 90? Yes. Do they sum to 90? No. Okay? Now find the complement. We're asking 20 plus what angle equals 90 degrees? So we can solve this little equation. Now, you didn't need to do this. You probably just saw that the answer was 70. But what if I gave you 20.897642? Then an equation is helpful. Okay? 35 plus what equals 90? 55 degrees. And 78 plus what equals 90? 12 degrees. X plus what equals 90? We're solving for the what, the question mark, right? 90 minus x. So in other words, if x were 10, I would find its complement by taking 90 and subtracting 10. So I can give you numbers and you can determine whether they're complementary, or we can look at pictures. Are these complementary? And notice these are not adjacent. Are they complementary? Is being adjacent part of the definition of complementary? No, it's not. So are these complementary as long as they add to 90 degrees? Then yes. And these two, we don't know what either one measures, but we know that together they form a right angle by this symbol, and therefore yes. Are complementary angles always adjacent? No, they do not need to be adjacent. Okay. Two angles are supplementary if their measures sum to 90 degrees. One angle is called the supplement of the other. And here you can just make up some numbers that add to 180 degrees. Supplement, straight line. 180 degrees, okay? Like 150 and 30. I don't know. 180. Easy numbers. Okay. Find the supplement. So here, 35 plus what number equals 180? 145. 178 plus what number equals 180? 2 degrees. 90 plus what number? 90. X plus what number equals 180? 180 minus x. And the idea here is to be able to write a general relationship that you can always solve. So if you try to think about what am I doing here to find these answers, I'll do the same thing with this x. Here I took 180 and I subtracted 35. I took 180, subtracted 2. I took 180, subtracted 90. I took 180 and I subtracted x. Okay? All right. Are angles 1 and 2 supplementary? Yes, they are, and we will talk about these two angles in just a second. Are these two supplementary? 37 plus 143, does it equal 180? Yes, it does. Yes. Okay. All right, I added 2 more definitions, so you're going to have to get this on notebook paper. You can always pause the video if you need to get notebook paper. All right, 2 angles form a linear pair if they are adjacent and their non-common sides are opposite rays. Okay, so I have opposite rays. Let's call this, oh, I don't know. Okay, so OA and ray OC are opposite rays. So we've got that part of the definition. And they are adjacent. They have a common vertex, a common side. They are coplanar, and they don't overlap. Okay, so that's an example of a linear pair. Linear pairs are supplementary. Linear pairs are just a special case of supplementary angles. They're supplementary angles that are adjacent. Okay? Vertical angles are the non-adjacent angles formed by 2 intersecting lines. There's a line, there's a line, they intersect. Angles 1 and 2 are adjacent, so they can't be vertical, but 1 and 3, they're not adjacent. They have a common vertex, but they don't have a common side. Here they are, 1 and 3. Those would be called vertical angles, angle 1 and angle 3. Another pair of vertical angles are 2 and 4. Incredibly important theorem, vertical angles are congruent. Okay, and the visual picture should prompt you in the right direction there. These are congruent, these are congruent. 1 and 2 are a linear pair, these are supplementary. So we have all kind of things happening in that very simple picture of 2 intersecting lines. Okay, so let's just do this practice problem here. It says the measure of angle AXB is 90 degrees, and they included the little tick mark there. I believe I wrote the numbers 2 here, but I took them out. If I have congruent supplementary angles, when I have supplementary angles, that's a relationship between a pair of angles, so you would have to list 2 angles if you were talking about supplementary angles. Congruent supplementary angles, they add to 180 degrees by definition, and if they're congruent, what 2 angles would add to 180 degrees and have the same value? Angle AXB and angle BXD. Okay, supplementary angles that are not congruent. Well, these are supplementary, but you saw they were congruent. So now we need another pair of angles, 2 angles, that would add to 180 degrees. Angle AXC and angle CXD. Here and here, they form that straight line, and linear pairs are supplementary. Complementary angles. Do not say AXB. Complementary angles, I need 2 angles. This is a relationship between a pair of angles. 2 angles that sum to 90 degrees now. Angle BXC and angle CXD. And the last one, straight angle, angle AXD. Okay, good. Last problem, and then we'll do work in class on these things. Okay, so when you're trying to solve an algebra problem, the first thing you have to do is think about the geometry. What kind of angles are there? What do I know about these angles? Don't focus in on finding x or y first. Focus in on what's given. I see linear pairs. I see complementary angles. I see supplementary angles. I see vertical angles. Okay. If I see these two here, and I see that they're vertical to this angle, which is a more complicated thing. I'm trying to show you some more complicated things here. This 90 degrees, this whole thing here must be 90 degrees, so these two must add to 90. But if I set up that equation, I'd have two unknowns and one equation. So that's not a good place to start when I want to solve. All right, right here. These two form a straight line. This is 90 degrees, this must be 90 degrees, so 5x must equal 90 degrees. So x equals 18. Well, if this x equals 18, that means this x must be equal to 18. So I can go ahead and solve that. 3 times 18. (54 degrees). So that angle is 54 degrees. And now I know that 54 plus y equals 90. Y equals 36 degrees. Now there's other ways you could have solved this. You could have looked at straight lines here. I could have said, here's a nice little equation. 5x plus 3x plus y equals 180. And once I found that x equaled 18, I could say 5 times 18. Oh, I probably wouldn't do that. I'll take that back. I would combine like terms, and I would say 8x plus y equals 180. Then I would say 8 times 18 plus y equals 180. And that would be 644 plus y equals 180. Subtract 144 from both sides, y equals 36 degrees. Okay? All right, so tomorrow we'll work on some of these.